Look at this hull. It's split clean down the middle. And that's the kind of damage that usually means catastrophic failure, except nothing has failed. What you're looking at is a split hopper barge, a ship that's literally built to open itself in half. Crazy, we know, but this is exactly how it's designed to work. The question is, how does it work? And why does it even exist? Here's the thing about sand. It's really difficult to move by ship. Unlike containers, it won't stack or even pump like oil. It just shifts and settles, constantly changing the weight distribution as the ship moves. In fact, this is the same reason rice can sink ships, which Kim covered in a previous video. But why move sand at all? It's literally everywhere, right? Well, not all sand is useful. You see, construction needs sharp, angular grains that lock together when you compact it. If you use desert sand, it's too smooth. River sand works, but there's just not enough of it. And as demands grew, extraction shifted offshore to the seabed, where you can find suitable sand in the massive volumes that modern construction needs. But once you're working offshore, everything has to happen at sea. In 2014, Port Klang had a problem. Their approach channel was far too shallow for the newest generation of container ships. They needed to deepen it from 14 to 17 meters. You need to remove 20 million cubic meters of sediment. That's roughly 8,000 Olympic swimming pools worth of material, and dump it 15 kilometers offshore. 6 dredgers worked continuously, filling split hopper barges that shuttled back and forth between the channel and disposal sites. Each barge would carry 3,000 to 5,000 meters per load, multiple times per day. It took 18 months to complete the whole thing. But this is exactly what split hopper barges were designed for. Moving massive volumes between sites where there's absolutely no port infrastructure. At first glance, the design looks dead simple, right? The ship opens, sand falls out, done. Except there's a problem. Picture the barge from above. When it's closed, it's a single rigid structure, 5,000 tons of steel all acting as one piece. All the force is spread evenly across the entire frame. Now, split it. Those two halves, they're now connected only by hinges and hydraulic cylinders running along the center line. Everything that was distributed across 100 meters of steel is now loading onto connection points you could literally count on your fingers. I'm sure you could already see the issue here. Those hinges and cylinders have to carry loads that were previously spread across the entire hull. And they have to do it while the ship's rolling, pitching, and working in waves. When the barge is sitting perfectly upright, the half hulls just hang straight down. There's no leverage, no geometric advantage working in your favor. But that changes the moment the ship starts to roll. Even at just 5 degrees, the upper half hull shifts outward a bit. Now its weight is acting at a distance from the hinge line. Force times distance. That's leverage. This creates what engineers call a closing moment, where W is the weight of the half hull, D is the distance from its center of gravity to the hinge line, and theta is your roll angle. For a 2,000-ton half hull rolling at 5 degrees, with its center of gravity 8 meters from the hinge, you get roughly 1,400 ton-meters of closing force. Now that's actually good news. It means the hull wants to close naturally, which reduces the load on your hydraulics. The trade-off? Well, the hinges now have to carry that entire moment. At peak stress, they're supporting the equivalent of multiple loaded trucks, while the ship's moving in waves with cargo actively shifting around inside. Now here's where timing becomes absolutely critical. The most stressful moment is before you even start discharging. If you open the hull before discharge begins, the hinges are carrying peak load through what's now a split structure. The stress is at its highest when the hold is still completely full. For a 5,000-ton barge opening to 45 degrees, hinge stress can hit 250 megapascals. That's close to the yield strength of marine-grade steel. But here's the thing. Once sand starts flowing out, the weight drops fast, and the stress drops right along with it. Open too early or in the wrong conditions, and you can push those structural loads higher than the design can safely handle. Opening gradually, timing it with the ship's motion, and starting discharge at exactly the right moment, and the system quickly settles into a much lower stress, more stable state. But what actually happens when you release 3,000 tons of sand? Well, the discharge method depends entirely on where the material needs to go. Bottom dumping is exactly what it sounds like. The barge positions itself over the target site, opens the hull doors, and just lets gravity do the work. Sand falls straight down through the water column and settles on the seabed below. You'd use this method for underwater placement, things like building artificial reefs, creating berms for coastal protection, or disposing of dredged material in designated zones. The discharge takes anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how much cargo you've got and how wide you open the doors. A wider opening means faster discharge, but it also increases the structural loads during release. Some of the more advanced split hoppers can even discharge while moving slowly, spreading material evenly over a larger area. But both methods share one big constraint: you can only discharge in relatively shallow water. Go too deep and the sand disperses too much during the fall, or the energy required to pump it becomes completely impractical. Most split hopper operations happen in water with depths between 5 and 30 meters. The split hopper barge doesn't exactly extract the sand itself. That's someone else's job. One common type is the trailing suction hopper dredger. It basically crawls across the seabed at a few knots, dragging suction pipes behind it that vacuum up sand and water together, making a mixture called slurry. Another type is the cutter suction dredger. Instead of moving around, it stays in one spot, using a rotating cutter head to break up compacted material before pumping it away. In both cases, the sand gets lifted as slurry, not as a solid, and moved through pipelines or discharge arms. But what happens next? Well, it really depends on the setup. Sometimes the dredger stores the sand in its own hopper, and it can even discharge by spraying the material out from the stern in this really distinctive pattern called rainbowing. But when you're dealing with massive volumes or the dredging site is far from the destination, the material gets transferred directly into barges instead. The barge pulls up alongside the dredger. Slurry gets pumped across into the open holds, and once it's loaded, the split hopper disconnects and heads off on its own. At that point, the job is simple. Carry the material to the discharge site, open the hull, release the sand, and close up again. Extraction, transport, and discharge. They're all handled by different vessels, often at different times, even under different operators. Which brings us right back to the beginning of the video. From a distance, the ship still looks broken, but now you know what's actually happening and why it exists in the first place. Every episode on this channel takes days to produce, from research and scripting to storyboarding, animation, and even voiceover. And it's all made possible by our Patreon crew. We've just revamped our Patreon and we've prepared a lot more to share with you. As a deckhand, you'll get early ad-free access to new videos, be able to vote on upcoming video topics, grab exclusive wallpapers for your phone and PC, and see your name on our supporters wall at the end of every new video. If you'd like a closer look behind the scenes, the officer tier gives you time lapses of our team working hard on brand new animations or thumbnails. You'll also get behind the scenes updates, animatic releases, and a monthly newsletter filled with maritime stories and news that we don't cover on the channel. And for those who really want to take the helm, our captain tier lets you sail your very own custom designed ship in the casual navigation art style, featured in a future episode for everyone to see. You'll also get your name in the end credits as a captain supporter, with video shoutouts and private Q&A sessions on Discord. However you choose to support, or even if you're just here watching, it truly means a lot. You'll find the Patreon link down below. Thank you for keeping casual navigation afloat.